Hey folks, it's been a hot minute, it's been a couple of weeks, and it's been a little bit since I've done one of my makeup archives nostalgic times video. What was I calling them? Beauty archives? Talking about decades in fashion and makeup and mostly hair and makeup things, some fashion stuff. But today we're going to be talking about the
1980s,
aka the decade I was born in. I realize I've been alive during 5 separate decades, which is very weird. The 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. Oh no. 1989. I was only in 1989 for 6 months. Barely an 80s kid. Just barely an 80s kid. We're going to talk about some of the makeup and fashion icons of the 80s. Obviously, this is not going to be an all-encompassing video because I only know so much because I wasn't alive for more than 6 months during the 80s. So with whatever research I was able to do, we're going to be talking about style icons, makeup trends, hair trends, products that were all the rage, things that launched, things that were big in the 80s. But before we get into everything, I do want to thank Warby Parker once again for sponsoring today's video. So let's jump to me in half an hour when I recorded the sponsored spot. Yeah. Good things await me. Yeah. Today's video is sponsored by Warby Parker. When I tell you, I have worn Warby Parker glasses for like 8+ years. I am not lying. I have so many pairs of their glasses, and they are my favorite glasses I have ever owned. This pair we're gonna try on is called Abner, which I thought was funny because my name is Abby. Haha. I like these a lot, actually. I think they look really good on Josh, too. Josh is getting a pair of glasses from them, by the way. But I love Warby Parker because not only are their glasses good quality, like I stand by the quality, they've been the glasses that have lasted me the longest throughout my time in wearing glasses. So the quality is great, but you also get that really nice added bonus of being able to try glasses on at home. Because I know for me, going into an eye doctor or going even into a glasses store can be kind of intimidating because you don't really know where to start. And then you just start picking up glasses, and then after a while you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore, and I don't even know what I like on my face anymore. There's definitely a benefit to going to a store and trying stuff on so you can see what fits, like the sizing, but there is something so lovely about just ordering 5 home try-ons, which are totally free. These come in the mail, free shipping, free everything. They send you a shipping label and you can send it right back in 5 days, but you get to wear them for an extended period of time. And if you're like Josh, who doesn't wear glasses yet, he can wear them around just doing whatever because it's no different than his current non-prescription because he's not wearing glasses. For me, I have to wear them when I'm not trying to do anything because otherwise I can't see because the ones they send in the mail have no prescription. But this one is Elena? Yeah, these ones were fun. I liked these ones. I feel like they'd be really good sunglasses too. I picked some slightly different ones than I normally would because of my new hair, and I was like, I want to see what other colors look like on me. But doing the 5 at-home try-ons are so nice because you get that time and you get to kind of wear them around, feel them out and see if they're comfortable on your face. I feel like trying on glasses in a store is similar to like going to a store and trying on a bra because you can put it on and you're like, oh, this fits perfectly. I like how this looks. I like how it fits. But then the minute you get home and you wear it for more than 20 minutes, things start to shift. It doesn't fit correctly. It's not as comfortable. So having a bit more time with something that you're gonna wear on your face all the time is really nice because you get to actually like feel it for a while. These are Laurel, by the way. I like these ones a lot too. I almost got these in glasses, like not sunglasses, years ago. Warby Parker, besides doing the online thing, in the last several years, they have a ton of stores. They have a ton of stores over the US, and you can actually go to the store, try them on. You can get your eyes checked. That's what Josh did. A few weeks ago, Josh went to a Warby Parker location here. He made an appointment. He went and got his eye exam. He got his prescription. It was uploaded to his online profile. It was so easy. It was so fast. Literally, it took like less than half an hour to go in, get his eyes checked, and now we're getting a pair of glasses for him. And all their glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. These ones are really fun too. These ones feel very like 70s, 80s. I don't know why. The shape feels very 80s, and the fact that these are like very warm toned, I like them. They're fun. This one was called Nancy, by the way. And then this one is Sailor. The color's really cute, and I like the style overall with like the mix of the acrylic and the metal. I love a combination of materials. And this pair, I have this pair, and then I have another pair that has blue light protection as well. I look at the computer screen a lot, so having the blue light protection for my glasses is really, really nice, and I can definitely tell a difference. It does help a lot in alleviating my eye strain, because I get eye strain quite a bit if I'm not wearing the blue light when I'm looking at a screen all day. When I'm editing photos, when I'm editing videos, when I'm working at my job, I look at a screen all the time. But if you would like to try any of these, go to warbyparker.com/Abby. That is warbyparker.com/ABBY. And then at the end, when you're all done, you put them back in the box. There's plastic bags that they come in. Put them back in the packaging. You tape it up, you put the return label on, and you send it back totally free. You get 5 days to play around and to see how the glasses look on your face, and then you just send it back for free. And you don't even have to buy any of the pairs that you tried on. Go check out Warby Parker. If you ever buy a pair, let me know, because I like when things that I recommend, people like them. And I recommend these even when they're not sponsoring me. Literally, I've had Warby Parker links in my description for years because everybody always asks, Abby, what glasses are you wearing? They're Warby Parker all the time. Back to me half an hour ago. Back to Abigail talking about the 80s. When I think of like 80s style icons, a lot of times I think about movies. I think about 80s movies, John Hughes movies, musicians, supermodels were huge in the 80s and 90s. But some of the most iconic when it comes to style of the 80s, Madonna. Madonna started trends, carried trends. She even had different kinds of looks throughout the 80s. She had the more like blown out bangs, bracelets, all the makeup, all the crimped hair, big hair. She had that, but then she also had the kind of more sophisticated side to Madonna where she rocked the kind of shorter pixie cut that was like bleach blonde, did a dark lip very often, and then this very kind of like gothed out, like very pale powder. The 80s, she was an it girl, and the music videos, she was in movies. When I saw old school Madonna, my mom showed my sister and I this movie Vision Quest that actually has Matthew Modine from Stranger Things in it. It's really good. It was Madonna's like first movie soundtrack appearance. From there, Madonna just blew up to mega celebrity icon status. If you looked up like 80s style in the dictionary, it would be like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper, I feel like, took what Madonna was doing and went even more overboard with it. She rocked a lot of really like bright reds, oranges, the most neon, the most color on her face. With Madonna, it was a lot more kind of like smoky eyes, a little bit more about the outfit and the hair. And then with Cyndi Lauper, she went all in on the makeup, the hair. Cyndi Lauper really was just like bright and colorful all the time. I actually saw Cyndi Lauper several years ago. I got to photograph her at a theater in Tacoma. Like her speaking voice, she has that very strong accent. So she was just larger than life in every way possible. And I love Cyndi Lauper. I love Cyndi Lauper. And she appeared on the Goonies soundtrack. She did like the song from the Goonies. Good enough. And then also in a similar vein, as far as like music, movie, style icon, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, also, I think you could put Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Whitney Houston right next to each other and be like, these were the 80s. She did a lot more kind of this like fun and glamorous stuff, and her style definitely changed throughout the 80s and the 90s as well. She had a lot more of that fun, big hair, lots of hair accessories type thing in the early 80s, and then as time went on and as she got older and as her style changed a little bit, she still had that big hair, bright colors, but it was a bit more glamorous, a bit more sophisticated, and I mean, it just happens when you start off when you're really young and you just grow up in the public eye. As far as like just a singing perspective, Whitney Houston was like clearly the most talented out of all three of them. Now, I was talking about supermodels. Iman, so classy, glamorous. Oh my God, such a gorgeous person. Like Iman was another style icon, a supermodel of that era. She went on to have like a very successful career throughout the years. And when I think of her style, I think definitely less bright colors, a bit more darker, a bit more sultry, a bit, like I said, more glamorous. Such an icon. Oh my gosh. Another couple supermodels that were household names of the 80s, whether it was because of commercials, like makeup makeup lines, shampoo ads. Shampoo ads were doing so much in the 80s. But Christy Brinkley appeared in a ton of movies. She was in Christmas Vacation. That's the first one that comes to mind. But Christy Brinkley was in everything. And then Brooke Shields, I think, is probably the most... When you think of Brooke Shields, you think eyebrows, right? Brooke Shields had those iconic eyebrows of the 80s. And the 80s were when people were still kind of embracing the big, bushy brows. I think that was one trend that came back more recently where I'm like, thank you, 1980s. Thank you for showing us the way, because when you got to the 90s and the early 2000s, that's when people started plucking the crap out of their eyebrows. The 80s, on the other hand, they just let them grow, and Brooke Shields was the poster child for that. Her brows were perfect, and they were bushy, and they were big, and they were in your face, but they were perfect. And it made everybody want big, bushy, perfect eyebrows. People grew them out. People didn't pluck them. I mean, like, some people did. Like, obviously there were still some styles. When I think of, like, maybe 80s goth were doing a lot more of those, like, either overplucked or shaved off and then drawn on. But when I think of, like, mainstream style, like, big brows were a thing. Were very much in. And then Grace Jones. Oh my God, Grace Jones. I swear it's like the coolest person. She was really into the like blue eyeshadow, just like stark eyeshadow all over the eyes. These really rich jewel tones that would go all the way up to the brow. And that turned into a thing throughout the decade. But I think Grace Jones made it look really good. Made it look really, really good with this just big eyeshadow all over the eye and these like really sharp features, and just, oh, she was so cool. She's so cool. Yeah, Grace Jones. And then last but not least, probably the one person who I would say I'm like emulating the most right now with my makeup is Debbie Harry of Blondie. Who doesn't love Blondie? But Debbie Harry did a lot of this very rocker kind of looks where it was dark smoked out eyeshadow, but still a lot of color. She did a lot of like monochromatic things where like pink dress, pink eyeshadow, pink blush, pink lipstick, just everything was all one color or one tone. And Debbie Harry definitely was such an icon, such a freaking punk rock queen.
Oh!
Definitely out of all of these like style icons of the 80s, Debbie Harry is the one that I probably relate to in terms of just personal style. I mean, I almost have a mullet right now. It's kind of a shag. It's kind of a mullet. I don't know. I don't even know what it's a shallot. It's a shallot. Also, it's matching my shirt. I didn't realize that this was gonna match perfectly. I am proud of myself for buying this months ago in preparation for when this was going to match. I don't know. Now onto the specific makeup trends that exemplified the 1980s. Blue, pink, purple eyeshadow. Bright colors. So you had blue, pink, and purple, but then you also had like orange and yellow. Like it went through the spectrum of like the most neon to like very sunny colors. Red on the cheek, orange on the cheek, pink on the eye. A lot of just like sunset blending out everything on your face. Cyndi Lauper is a good example of that. There was no subtlety to anything in any style, makeup, anything of the 80s. Everything was in your face and it was fun. Okay, I love looking at stuff from the 80s. Literally the only thing that I probably wouldn't have done or I wouldn't want to do is all of the damage to my hair that people did in the 80s with all of the products and things that they did. But with like makeup and clothes, I'm like, yeah, they were having so much fun in the 80s. We're kind of at like the second wave of trends coming back because basically fashion and style trends have like a 20-year cycle. So like in the early 2000s, more kind of 80s bright colors and trends came back, and now we're kind of going back to Y2K, which has some of those 80s influences. So it's interesting to look at now as a 33-year-old person who lived through the first revival of 80s trends as a child, and now as an adult seeing that trend come back. It's a bit wild, I will say. I wouldn't fit in any of the clothes that I had when I was 13, but probably some of the clothes when I had was 13 would be very in right now. And then, like I mentioned with Grace Jones, lash to brow eyeshadow. You did not have creases. You did not have blending in. No, it just eyeshadow just straight from here to here. I didn't do bad. I should have done that. But like, you covered your whole eye in eyeshadow. And I think part of that was the reason why so much of the like draping thing was a trend. I don't know if it was necessarily like on purpose or if it was just the side effect of fallout happening on the cheek. And so people just like blended the heck out of the eyeshadow that had fallen on their cheek. I don't know. That's my hypothesis. Eyeshadow all over the eye, whether it was a solid color, whether it was like different colors mixed together or transition colors, it was a lot of blocks of color everywhere. Using blush almost as like highlighter slash contour. I do have some contour on right now, but using blush up here, lifting the face, I think was very, very on trend for the 80s. You didn't have people doing like blush on the apples of the cheeks. You didn't really have people doing blush across the nose because that's more of a new thing. But like blush pulling everything up was very 80s, just very angular, very like wind blown. I feel like everything was just like looked like you got blown with a wind machine because the hair was big and curled back and the blush was far back. It was just everything was like make your face look as lifted and far back as possible. I don't know. How much makeup can we actually get on our face? Let's try and outdo ourselves and outdo each other. That's pretty much what it was like. Let's just put so much makeup on, and then included eyeliner. As far as the clothes went, everything was neon. They needed to make sure that they weren't gonna get lost and that everybody could see them from a mile away in the dark. Literally, when I showed up and my sister saw my hair for the first time, I was like, you're not gonna lose me in the dark. You'll be able to find me really easily. And that's just everybody's existence in the 80s. Lipstick wasn't as big of a thing until it got to like the 90s. I feel like the 90s is really when like lipstick really came into fashion. And I think part of that is because you didn't have nearly as many brands in the 80s and nearly as many brands with that many options. Speaking of which, let's get talking about some brands and things that were big in that time. That decade. Because most of the kind of advertisements that people saw in the 80s, it was either television or magazine ads. Most of the time for those ads, you had drugstore brands, Maybelline, CoverGirl. You also had like Clinique and Chanel here and there and Estee Lauder, who were definitely gaining a lot of popularity during that decade. But Maybelline, CoverGirl, Revlon, those were the big three during that time. Particularly a very recognizable mascara tube that I'm sure everybody has owned at one point in their life. At one point in your life, you have owned a Great Lash Maybelline mascara. The pink tube, it is iconic. It literally has turned into like the default. Like if you get like art drawn for like commission or whatever, or like little patterns that have makeup in them, you'll get some like compacts, you'll get some eyeshadows, but I feel like every time it shows something that's supposed to be a mascara, it's a pink tube because of the Maybelline Great Lash Mascara. And it's a good mascara. Came out in 1984. And ever since then, I think it's definitely probably one of their best-selling products. The nice thing with mascaras is that people rebuy them and they can have that longevity because people will repurchase them over and over and over and over again. And Maybelline Great Lash was so damn popular, so popular. It literally became synonymous with just mascara in general. But Maybelline also had some bangers for lip products. And some of the names for these things were ridiculous. They had the Kissing Coolers, which were flavored. Some of them were kind of like cooling on the lips, obviously. They were just like lip balm things, like nothing too special besides the fact that they were flavored and they were called Kissing Coolers, and that seemed very cool. Like, who wouldn't want to, let's get my Kissing Cooler out? Like, they loved alliteration in the 80s, I swear. And then Kissing Potion, they really like to remind people that people kiss. And this was a rollerball lip gloss. Rollerball lip glosses are not a thing anymore. I don't know if it's just because it's not as sanitary. I don't think it's necessarily any more unsanitary than wand lip gloss, but people don't like rollerball lip glosses anymore. But I have very vivid memories of rollerball lip glosses and rollerball perfumes and rollerball body glitter in my early childhood. The only thing people get rollerballs for now are freaking skincare sometimes, and then like perfumes. Kissing Potion. What a ridiculous name. And those were flavored too. In 1984, like I mentioned, that there wasn't a lot of options for like lipstick colors. There were a lot fewer choices, especially when you had stuff in the drugstore. And the difference between drugstore and high-end was a lot bigger back then. You had very inexpensive products in the drugstore, and then the high-end stuff was like Chanel, Estee Lauder, Clinique. Clinique isn't that expensive considering now, but like Estee Lauder and Chanel are expensive as heck. MAC. MAC Cosmetics was started in Toronto, Canada in 1984. MAC Cosmetics started in 1984. It was a totally different company at the time. They still have a lot of the same kind of products now, but they were a independently owned brand. They started it themselves. It did not have a parent company. Parent companies weren't as much of a thing back in the day. That would have been such a fun time to be playing around with makeup. Like, oh, like what I wouldn't give to like walk into a MAC store in 1986. Like, that would be so cool. I don't know. I just love that. And MAC was definitely one of the more widely used brands for makeup artists. They were very popular. They had a lot of different products you could use. I mean, the MAC foundation labeling system, like NC and NW, like turned into a standard. Like, how many times have you gone into a store or you've tried to compare foundation shades and you're like, oh, I'm NC20 or whatever. That's MAC. Like, that's MAC. Now you have so many more brands like Fenty who have even more foundation shades in individual lines, and they name them a little bit differently. But like, MAC was like really making foundation accessible for a lot of people pretty quickly. My mom, when I was born, she had a long, low ponytail and bangs and wore overalls all the damn time. My mom was not a makeup lady. My mom was not a hair lady, which is why we never ruined our hair when we were kids, because my mom, like I said, had a long, low ponytail and she had a pixie cut when she was a kid. So my mom didn't care. Oh my God. Y'all, hair accessories in the 80s were hilarious. If we thought they were funny in the early 2000s, they were funny in the early 2000s because of the 1980s. Crimping was it? Do I need to buy a crimper? I don't think it would work on my hair, honestly. I think my hair is too short for crimping now. But crimping, that was a thing in the 80s. Because there weren't as many hot tools, people were actually like ironing their hair too, like with an iron. So the amount of fried follicles from 81 to 89, rest in peace, you fried follicles. Crimping, big thing. Big bangs, big hair, big everything. Aquanet and Rave hairspray, again, I feel like very iconic. Like when you see artwork of beauty products that are just like hand-drawn cartoony things, they're drawing Rave hairspray or Aquanet. Definitely Aquanet and Rave hairspray have these very like specific scents that are so, for me it's not nostalgic, but I can guess for people who were 10, 11, 12, 13 years older than me, Aquanet is a very nostalgic scent for them because they probably smelled it during their adolescence. Any gender people were like doing a lot to their hair. When you think of 80s movies, you still think of like dudes with like slicked back, like gelled the F up hair. And then you think of like, Teen Witch. Teen Witch. That movie, oh my God. Teen Witch, oh my God. Teen Witch. I loved Teen Witch, and Teen Witch I think is a really good example across the board of like all of the styles. You guys should actually go check out, Nick DeRamio did a video about Teen Witch and I loved it. Nick, bring this 80s freaking classic to the masses, to the youth, because it's fantastic. I love Teen Witch. But Teen Witch had a lot of those styles. Biggest hair, so much animal print, shoulder pads, everything was larger than life and everything was huge. I need to watch that again. I haven't watched it in a while, but I love it. But the funniest thing I found, oh my gosh, I don't even remember this existing, or something called
CONAIR impressions.
This took crimping to a whole new level of unhinged, because crimping, at least, it was just like little grooves and waves. No, CONAIR impressions put shapes in your hair. You know those little like paper stampers that like cut shapes, like holes in shapes, like hearts, turtles, ducks, you know, like the little paper stampers. This was like that, but for your hair. It didn't cut a hole in your hair, it just crimped it into a shape. So you had like a weird little indent of a shape in your hair. Literally, why was this a thing? I don't know, but I feel like I need to find one and like buy it and then do something with my sister's hair, because it definitely wouldn't work with mine, but I want to crimp my sister's hair. It would be hilarious, especially with shapes. Imagine like a lightning bolt in your hair. just a freaking lightning bolt in your hair. Or a heart or a star. Oh my God. I love that. It's so dumb. It's so funny, but it's perfect. You know, it's perfect. Oh, I love 80s. I love the 80s. I really just want to go on an 80s movie binge. Oh, love it. Loved it. I love watching all the movies that my mom showed me when I was a kid because I grew up on 80s movies. And so looking back at the styles from then, it just warms my heart. I love it. And that is all of the things that I talk about with you today. For today's song of the day, we're gonna do Crazy For You by Madonna from the Vision Quest soundtrack, which is so good. It's so good. You should watch Vision Quest. It's good. It's not a comedy. It's actually like kind of intense, like it's a drama, but it's really good and has Matthew Modine in it, who plays the doctor in Stranger Things. Dr. Brenner, the blonde, white-haired guy who Eleven is afraid of. I haven't finished Stranger Things yet. Don't spoil anything in the comments for me, please, even though I've had most things spoiled. Yeah, Crazy For You from Madonna is today's song of the day, so definitely go check it out. I'll put a link in the description, as well as Nick's video about Teen Witch, and maybe any other videos where people have talked about 80s movies, because I love them. I love them so much. Thank you again to Warby Parker for sponsoring today's video. I very much appreciate it. Thank you again for sticking with me. For the rest of you, let me know, if you were alive in the 80s, what was your favorite thing? Style, hair, fashion, makeup, anything. What was your favorite thing? And if you were not alive in the 80s, or were only alive for like 6 months like me, were like a baby that didn't have any mobility, we're like sentient, but not really yet. Things that you might have remembered, or things that you saw, or things that you've seen through media throughout the years. Stuff from the 80s that you would have liked to have tried and maybe never got a chance to. I just want to talk about like fun, ridiculous 80s things in the comments down below. The next one of these I will be doing is the 1970s. So also leave me suggestions for products that maybe you have seen or you know of that you would like me to talk about. So let me know in the comments down below. If you would like to follow me on any of my other social media, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Twitch, and my TikTok will all be linked down below. Instagram and Twitter are both Abers07, and TikTok and Twitch are Abers without the 07. I stream on Fridays and Saturdays on Twitch, so if you would like to hang out with me there, it's a fun time. Most of the time we play The Sims. Sometimes we do gameplay, sometimes we build things, sometimes we do cast challenge, create a sim, making sims. Sometimes I put makeup on, sometimes I get a little faded, if you know what I mean. But yeah, come hang out with me on Twitch. It's a really good time. I've been having a lot of fun streaming, like so much fun streaming. So definitely come hang out there if you would like to see more of me regularly, because I do it twice a week and usually it's late at night. So apologies for Europeans, because usually you're asleep by the time I'm streaming. Sometimes people are waking up though if I'm going super late at night. That's happened before. Give this video a like if you did like it. Definitely go check out the link to Warby Parker down in the description. It really helps me out. Anytime you check out my sponsors, it helps out the channel so much, honestly. So click the link, check them out if you would like some new glasses, or would just like to try some on if you're like thinking about getting glasses. I have so many pairs and I love every one of them. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good weekend. Stay hydrated, stay rested. Subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more of me, and I will see you all next week, or tonight on Twitch if you're hanging out. Bye!